Hey, everybody, I'm David Green, lead pastor at Madison Hills, and I am here with Carolyn Sheely. And Carolyn, I think right now we've known each other for right at 10 years. Does that
Okay.
sound right?
hmm
Yeah, and 4 of those years, we were colleagues doing ministry in real time together. And do you remember our very first conversation?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell me about it?
Sure. I think we were like either it was like on a Sunday morning, and we were just talking about children's ministry,
Mm-hmm.
and I think one of the things that stood out was I think you really saw my heart
Mm-hmm.
for wanting kids to just really know God, not know
Yeah.
about Him, but know Him and have a relationship with Him.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd been familiar with children's ministries before, but our conversation, I was just in awe listening to you talk. You had crafted a very clear, God given vision for discipling children. And I had a few little ones I was bringing along to this church. So, with that realization that you were invested spiritually with them was phenomenal. It was something that I hadn't seen before, and I appreciated that. And I think it's one reason we're still connected as well. I've always appreciated your heart for God and His ways. And in particular, I've noticed your prayers in the past. And when I hear you pray, your prayers were always conversational and they were real. Can you speak into that?
Yes, I just feel like, prayer is, and like, back in the children's ministry days, I would have described it. Prayer is talking to God. I mean,
Mm,
that's what we're doing. That's why we don't just memorize and repeat prayers.
hmm.
We are talking to God.
Sure.
So I've just always felt like He was approachable.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I've got 3 questions for you that I think would be
Okay.
super beneficial for anyone watching or listening to this.
Okay.
The first question is simply, what is prayer to Carolyn Sheely?
It's so funny you asked that because if you would have asked me that, like even like maybe 3 years ago, I would have had a totally different answer for you because God's just really been working a lot in that area of my life. And I
Hmm.
have come to realize prayer is this time when you get to experience the presence of God
Mm,
personally.
yeah,
Like you are right there with Him. He's right there with you. And we say God's everywhere and He's always with us.
sure.
But we don't really experience that.
Mm,
We just verbalize it, and it's just this awesome time. But it takes like some steps. Like you have to like take time to hang out with him. Like you
mm,
have to make that time, and it's hanging out. So it's not just a quick little, hey God, and
mm,
it needs daily is really best. And the part that's really hard is you've got to learn to be still
sure.
and listen to him.
Hmm.
And you listen more than you talk,
Mm,
which is foreign to
hmm.
us, I think. And then there's a part of it that I don't think people ever think about is just allowing God to love them.
Hmm.
He wants to let us know how much we're loved. And the result of that kind of time in prayer is that you grow closer to God. That
Mm,
relationship really becomes a relationship.
sure.
And that's where transformation, I think, takes place more because you hear Him and
Hmm.
you're like, oh, like, I'll just be honest, in preparing for this,
Hmm.
this is a little out of my comfort zone.
Okay.
And so it started becoming about me, like, what am I going to wear? How am I gonna, and then,
Mm,
and then in my time with God this morning, I mean, He just nailed me. He's like, excuse me, when did this come about you? This is about
wow.
prayer.
Yeah.
And he goes, and I have something I want to say to people. You're just
Mm,
the voice I'm using today. So I'm just like, yes. And you don't get those moments of him being able to just say, hey, get back on track
sure.
if you're not doing that with him.
That is really well said. I'm thinking of what your point about making prayer all about me. And in leadership circles, we have what we call the leader's prayer. And it simply goes like this: God, please help, please help, please help, please help. I can't do this. But the focus is upon us and removing any kind of being still or listening or recentering myself in Him. So, could you say a little bit more about the idea of prayer being more about listening than speaking?
Yes. I can't a lot. And let me just say, it is like really, really hard because it goes back to this whole, like, if you know me, I'm a planner. I have a to-do list. That's just who I am.
Sure.
But I like to call it, I just kind of freestyle with God, which is different for me. And it's so freeing. Like, you don't come with an agenda. You don't come with a plan. You just come. And you realize he's standing at the door and knocking. And your job is to just let him in and let him control the time.
Yeah.
It's not about what I wanted. And, it's just so funny because it's hard. Like everybody thinks, okay, I'll go be silent with God and sit in his presence. I'll just tell y'all, 5 minutes is a lifetime when you start this journey with him and you're like, okay. And then it's like he doesn't say anything like the first time probably. He might, but my experience was not only does he not say something the first time, not probably the 5th, the 10th, he's like, first we're going to get this, you sit still.
Yeah.
You be still and you just be okay with still. And then you can start hearing. His voice is always so clear, even though it's not audible. You just know, like you're either supposed to do this or you're supposed to stop thinking so much about you and let him just take care of things.
Sure.
So, and I think sometimes too, he just wants to let us know we're loved. I think it's really hard. I think, I don't know about men, I can't speak for men, but for women, we get so caught up in what earthly relationships have looked like for us with either earthly fathers or significant men in our lives. And God's love for us, there's like no comparison to that. And women need to learn what it means to be loved by God, I think.
Sure. Yeah, that was profoundly insightful. So for individuals thinking about their struggle with prayer and they don't know what to say, so the silent thing may come a little more natural to them, because when it comes to verbalizing a prayer or even starting a prayer, as a pastor, one of the most frequent things that I hear people say is, I don't know how to pray. Do you have any insights into what people should say when they're praying?
Okay, that's a good question. Let me think. Let me first of all say, though, you have to realize whenever you're making a change in your life to become closer to God or to move towards holiness or any of those kinds of things, Satan is not a happy camper. And that you have to fight for this. Like, God's already won it, and God's going to help you have it, but you have to be willing to fight for it.
Yeah.
Because Satan does not want this for you. So I think, I think you just have to say God, just start with God, who you're talking to. And a lot of times just letting him know how you feel about him. And, God has big shoulders. I mean, there's times, when you go to God and, I've gone to God before and just said, I don't like how you're handling this. I know that how you're handling it is best because you're God, but I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't like it, and I don't like that I'm having to go through it. But I am going to remember who you are and what you have promised, and that you are going through it with me, and it's going to be okay in the end.
Yeah.
But so I think you just have to realize you can say anything to God. You're not going to take him off guard. I mean, he knows it all anyway.
So you would encourage just being real, raw, honest, open would be a great first step for someone just beginning to pray.
Right. I mean, you can even say to God, hey, God, I'm new at this. I don't really know, like, how to talk to you. I mean, there is a part of reverence for God and understanding. I think whenever you're going to talk to God, you need to understand who God is. And there is that reverence part. But, man, there's also the part that God is the creator of everything, and he's going to block out this time with me. And his attention is completely on me, even though it can also be completely on how many other million people he wants it to be on. But, he's like loving that time. So it's just, you got to realize you're talking to him. I think sometimes we get a little like concerned about, well, it goes one of two ways. Either we know how rotten we are and we're just like, how can I talk to God? Or we're so prideful, we come to God with all of our pride, and God's like going, really? Who do you think you are? Have you looked in the mirror? You know, kind of thing. So I think you have to know who you are too. And that if there is sin or whatever, just talk to God about that. It's, it's like, oh, if God already knows. I mean, it's not like you've kept this big secret from God. He knows. So just like talk about it. We call it confess it. Just let him know and thank him, and he's going to forgive you. And then you walk away from that with forgiveness and grace. Because sin does kind of mess up that relationship and talking to him. But get it out of the way. Just get it out of the way and let it be out of the way. And definitely don't come to him with a bunch of pride. Because we have nothing without him. And we all have sin. Even, if we're working towards holiness, we still have sin. So you just have to do that. And so I think those things, and then I just think as you spend more time with God, it's easier to talk to him.
Yeah.
And, too, like you might have a prayer list of things you're praying for, so you can talk to him about those things, too. And that's kind of easy for people because they can just go down, their list. But I think even though that's an important component of prayer, and we do need to pray and intercess for other people, which is just praying for them, it's the time knowing God and being in his presence that's like the key to all of that. So,
and I guess that relates to what you had said with the first question, the being still and taking advantage of that time. Yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice. Well, with my last question here, considering everyone that may be watching or listening to this, what is one very specific detail about prayer that if our listeners, our watchers got nothing else from this content, you would want them to get this?
Okay, the biggest thing of all, but I'm going to add a little more to it because that's just who I am, is that time truly spent in God's presence is what results in that growing relationship with him and transformation towards holiness.
I see.
You can't. I mean, I am who I am today because of that time that I'm now spending in his presence, and not just simply coming to him with, hey, thanks for my food, or, okay, here's all the things I'm praying for. It's hey, let's just hang together. And then, there's so much more that happens when you sit still. We're all about doing, and God's about being. And we have to sit still for that. And then I think the most important thing, and this just includes like the season of life you're in even, it looks so different. Like if you're a stay-at-home mom or a single parent, you probably don't have this wonderful hour block that you can spend at one time. But God will allow you to have little segments of time if you'll take those, but you have to be open for it and looking for it. But I think the biggest thing is how this actual time looks is unique for every person.
Okay.
God made you unique. So he wants unique time with you. He doesn't want your time with him to be a cookie cutter of what somebody else's time looks like. So it's what he wants your time, how he created you. And he'll help you figure it out. I mean, that's what he did for me. I mean, I was so caught up in all of the other, and I was another person who was like, oh, well, that worked for them, or this is how they do it. And, the Bible talks about don't compare yourself to other people. But I think what we have to realize is our uniqueness.
Yeah.
And what God has for you and what he has planned for you and for you to do, he's going to say that to you. And then he wants to say things to me that are personal for me. So It's just kind of cool.
Yeah.
But don't try to make it what anybody else's looks exactly like, because that may not be how your life is.
Yeah, I think that's great insight and may reflect one of the biggest barriers to people praying, the comparison. I've heard people say before, well, I can't pray in public because I can't pray like Joe or Jane. I just don't know how to do that. So yeah, that's very important. Well, I want to thank you for spending this time with us. This has been fantastic, and I know it's going to be beneficial to anyone who watches this. So, thank you again for your time. And if you'd like to follow up anytime, we'll be doing this periodically, and we'd love to touch base with you. So, just follow the link below this video, and we'll be sure to reach out to you. Thanks again. Thanks, Carolyn.